Got myself a Trek OCLV postal bike. What's so cool about this? It's full Dura-Ace. Super sweet. Tearing it down after this.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary how to use bikes one bike at a time.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe.
Hi, welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin the guy. We're just gonna tear this beautiful Trek OCLV postal bike, full Dura-Ace, down. I bought this and I was like, ooh, that has some nice bits on it. You look pretty. And yeah, it is. It's a pretty awesome bike. Has some scuffs on it, so I'm gonna do some magic on detailing and make sure it's beautiful for whoever decides to get this bike. But once I got it, I checked the frame, that kind of thing. And I was talking to the owner and, kind of jibber jabber and kind of lost, what I was actually doing. I didn't pay too much attention because, I was like Dura-Ace, got some nice Cerium wheels. But here's the thing. When I got home and looked at it a little bit closer, you got a 10-speed shifter with a 9-speed derailleur with a 9-speed cassette. Haven't checked the chain yet, but it's kind of stretched. The derailleur itself's a 9-speed with the older school Dura-Ace, so several years before that. So what's going on here? And Dura-Ace brakes. So it got mixed matched, hodgepodge. And the thing is they don't work together. So if they were riding it for a while, 9-speed shifting with a 10-speed shifting with a 9-speed cassette, you're going to have some weird spacing. Why? Well, the freehub body, on the size of the freehub body is this little guy here, right? And this is the freehub body is a 8, 9, and 10 freehub body spacing. So this doesn't change the space between here. Just you add another cog, you got to shrink it down. So when you have your shifting, so if it's an 8-speed shifting, it's going to go 8 speeds through the span. If you have 10 speed, it's going to have like half clicks through out there. So they're never going to line up. So your one gear, you're going to be like one cog off. You can kind of work. I mean, it'll shift-ish through some of them, but you'll never, it won't do it correctly. So that's where the problem is. So got myself a 10-speed rear derailleur, 10-speed cassette, 10-speed chain going on this guy. The front derailleur, those can be 9 or 10. We'll see how it acts. If it doesn't act correctly, I'll throw on probably an Ultegra 10-speed that I have. The brakes, well, the brakes aren't speed, so they're fine. And Dura-Ace brakes are really pretty awesome. And they hold up really well. But overall, this is a full carbon bike, made in the United States, carbon front fork. Whoever had this before put a carbon C-post on it, which probably had one anyway, but they put a specialized one that has a little more of a give to it. And an S-work stem. Stems usually get swapped out a lot anyway because of fitting. So that's usually a big deal on that. So you got that going on. But anyway, I did also notice the headset seems a little crunchy, so we'll probably pop that apart and clean it. The teeth look good on the chainring, so the crankset I think are pretty good. I'll kind of swap these parts out and get it to go. The wheels actually are obviously newer, and they are definitely true. No cracks on them. I've inspected that. So they're going to be an awesome wheel set. So for what I got it for, and for Dura-Ace, I'm going to still be able to sell this for under $1,000, which is going to be amazing. Having a full DA bike. Yeah, a little older, but full carbon, full DA. So there was a company that did a review, old Dura-Ace vintage versus brand new Sora, which I have a link to it somewhere. I'll put it here. And it was very interesting because the performance factors on them, the Dura-Ace still outperformed the brand new Sora, which is bottom of the line of Shimano componentry, even though with all the trickle down in the years later, the overall, the Dura-Ace was still outperforming, which probably should. It's kind of like Porsche versus a Beetle. You know, it's like two different levels, and they're never, you know, one's never going to be the other. So, but this is going to be an awesome bike, especially if somebody just starting into riding. This is a rocket. I mean, these things are fast, and coming with a full DA Dura-Ace parts, it's going to be awesome. So let's just start tearing this thing apart. Get into it. Thanks for hanging with me this far along with the story. This is part of the Let's Just Hang Out with the Guy series, which, you know, I'll just sit here and jibber jabber while I do my thing. And minimal editing, that kind of deal. If you're wondering, like, why is this guy just constantly jibber jabber? He's kind of following the same concept of the old PBS show. Bob Ross, the painting, I forgot the name of the show. It wasn't Bob Ross, but that was the guy that did the paintings, the Happy Little Clouds and that kind of thing. Also, the other PBS show was This Old House. So this is kind of like This Old Bike. So I'm kind of stealing those ideas and going from there. So let's give you a little bit closer look, and let's just dive into this bad boy. So these parts have already been cleaned. They were takeoffs and the acquisitions from bike buys I've had in prior. And this is a new chain, so that's going to help everything out a little bit. If I could reuse this, I would, but we'll see. Sometimes chains, it's a pretty inexpensive upgrade. So sometimes it's like, do I really want to save this? Because it's only going to cost 20 or 30 bucks to upgrade it, and a new chain will make your drivetrain feel so much better. It'll shift more accurately, all those things. So, and that's going to be one of those things that, it's a wear point. It's one of the things that wears out first. I mean, tires and tubes are, tires specifically. Chains is the next second thing in line. That'll need to be changed out. So I will cut these all up. Also, a funny thing I noticed on this was it has barrel adjusters here, and they also have barrel adjusters here on the shifters. So it's kind of like, okay. I mean, you don't need to. One will suffice. So I'll save those for another bike at another time. Because it's already built in, unless these are damaged, which doesn't seem like they are. No, they work fine, so that's just kind of weird. And obviously this bike was kind of pieced together. And you know, a lot of older bikes are. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. And you know, it's one of those things. And this one's actually missing its springs. Interesting. Well, skewer springs, they're not necessary. Well, they're not technically necessary. They're nice to have. The skewer springs that fit on the skewer here. What they really do is keep that skewer equalized outward, so when you're taking the wheel on and off, it's a little bit easier. They're not necessary, but they're nice to have. So I got a whole bottle here because I kept on running out of them. You know, it's like one of those things like, could they be missing? And obviously when you take these off, you know, one drops off and bounces. You'll never see it again. It's gone. That's just how it rolls. Boop. And these particular ones, they slide right off. There we go. Keep these for measurements. Take the front wheel off. Yeah, I'm really excited about this bike. It's one of those bikes that I remember when they're new. So, and I was in a shop when they were new. So that actually adds even some more sweetness to it. In addition to, those are the springs there. So just to show you, that's what they should have had on them. Yeah. And this is when the heyday of the postal bikes, you know, if you don't know, if you're not really paying attention or in the cycling world, that's when Lance Armstrong was winning the Tour de France. And that was a big ordeal. Actually, that was loose. That's not good. Anyway, he was winning the tours, and it was what was really cool about it, it actually brought a lot of excitement back to cycling. It was cool. I mean, you know, back then, mountain biking was big. Now was the big insurgence. And Schwinn didn't think mountain biking was going to, Schwinn thought it was going to be a fad. That's why they went under. Well, amongst many other reasons, but that's why Schwinn went under. One of them. And the next big wave, and I started in '89. And that's when mountain bikes were kicking in. You know, Trek was making theirs and Specialized was doing theirs, and it was pretty cool. And I was a mountain biker, you know, racing mountain bikes too, and having fun, being younger. And but for road biking, you know, Colorado, we had the Ride Rockies and all those bigger road rides, so you know, those were pretty good. But the biggest insurgence in sales for road got people excited about it was Tour de France, Armstrong. So it was pretty cool. And that's where a lot of technology was put back into these and added to it. It was great. And really cool stuff. I mean, bonded, lugged together. And obviously they've improved upon that years later, but you still have the same concept. And carbon fiber does, even back then, has a lot of qualities that the newer carbon fibers have today. They're just a little bit lighter weight and aerodynamic. And maybe a little couple other things, but mostly you still get a good ride. And you know, once this is done, this is gonna blow the doors off of any $1,500 to $2,000 bike. I mean, to get into a carbon bike, you're looking at $2,300 to $2,400, and this is gonna be half that, maybe a third. Yeah, that's pretty good, pretty good. Onwards. I just hope I don't find anything bad with the frame. I don't think I will, but. And also, you know, when you're looking for bikes, you try to vet them from people that know what they're doing or had them for a while, or original owners, because that really helps. Because I've come across a couple that are like, hey man, did you know this was damaged? And you know, half the time they didn't, you know, and they would either cut down on price or something to help me out. Because I tell exactly what I do, and I'm not just like buying them and then you're gonna see your bike on the on eBay or whatever later and be shocked, because I tell them what I do. I refurbish road bikes. That's what I do. It's my thing. And I'm proud of it too, because I'm trying to provide good solid road bikes for people to get into road riding. Which at some point, if this was the original owner I bought it from, they should be pretty happy with that, because I'm trying to find a good home for them. So, and when you get on a bike, you've been on for a while and you paid a lot of money to get into, like this guy, this kind of becomes your little baby. I mean, it's like my pride and joy. This is the thing that gives me sanity when I have those long weeks at work or life is crushing or whatever. This really, riding really helps, and really helps out a lot of people, for sure. Pop this crank set off. It doesn't have original chain rings. It has FSA chain rings on there. That was not very tight either, so feels like this was kind of just put together, not ridden too much. So somebody had some extra parts and was like, I need to like throw this thing together to sell it. That's what this kind of feels like. I mean, they were done with what they were doing-ish, except for the 10-speed, 9-speed thing, but hey, no harm, no foul. We'll get it figured out. Here's the bottom bracket. Oh, that's an actual Dura-Ace bottom bracket too. That's smooth. That's good. So this is kind of like an unveiling for sorts, because for me, the big cost or big expense to what I do is if there's something wrong with the frame, I'm hoping I can sell the parts to offset what I put into it. Because once the frame's toast, That's the biggest lift. So if you're looking, I mentioned this before, if you're looking at bikes, you got three things. You got the frame and fork, right here. You got the componentry, which is taken off. Then you have the wheels. The most expensive thing to replace is the frame, then the fork. The other expensive thing to replace is the wheels. Then the less expensive lift is the components. So if you get a used bike and you have a bad derailleur, well, bad derailleur's not that expensive. But if it's a bad frame, then you're in a world of hurt, especially in a sense, you know, it can be very discouraging for somebody. They bought a bike and they're like, oh, this is great. I bought a used bike. I'm going to get it riding. I'm going to ride with my buddies and we're going to go out and I'm going to like get healthy and mental health and all this. And you take it to the bike shop and then going, oh, dude, sorry you bought a used bike. And, you know, some shops are not too happy about used stuff when being purchased. I don't know why that is. Sometimes that's changing, but there used to be some shops like, well, why don't you buy new? They're like, well, your new stuff's way too expensive. But anyway, they're like, well, your frame's toast because, you know, this is cracked back here or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, now what? You know? I mean, with me, I'm like, okay, I know what to do. But for someone that has a toast frame, well, your only options are is either get a new frame and fork and throw it on the components that you just bought, or you just, I've seen this several times, like a bike is damaged, it's damaged, I'm selling it for X amount of dollars for the parts, part it out, and you can recoup some of your money that way. But, you know, it's very disheartening. So I'm trying to take that scary and that heartburn from people by doing this. And you can see I have a row of frames here that I'm going to try to repair this summer because it's too cold to do, because these are carbon frames and need to be fixed. And what I'm going to try to do is patch them and fix them up and provide a good, you know, used frames for somebody to buy for a couple $100 just to get my costs out of it. But, you know, for somebody that's not into that industry and so forth, that's really painful. So, and then they get turned off on it. They'll just sell it and go do something else, which is horrible. You know, what can people get into riding? Oh, and also an article that I came across is like, how many people did we retain after the COVID? And a lot of the shops are saying, well, we're seeing still about 70% of those customers come back. Like they're coming, 67% of those new customers are coming back that we just grabbed from this big insurgence of people getting into riding, which is awesome. But keep in mind, a lot of those people bought bikes on just a whim, a lot of them used, and they're not the right size for them, or never was fitted, or was any of those things. So they're kind of like stumbling through the process of getting there through the experience. Because unfortunately, we were so overwhelmed, nobody could give them the experience. So now they're on the backpedaling, trying to get into it. Anywho, sidebar. Anyway, so this is the unveiling of the frame. See if it's good to go. Oh, a couple other things I'm going to pull off this too and clean. So Trek, for the longest time, was in the bonding frames, which, case in point, this is one of those bikes that it was pieced together. And you can see the lines here where this was one lug and they glued it with the tubing. And another part was really cool about it is if you damage this frame, carbon frame fixing wasn't really big in the 90s. They didn't know what to do. So what they did is they unglued it and put a new piece in there and glued it back on and painted it. So that was an option at Trek, or a service that you can do back then. Come on. And now they do just, you know, you can do the kits. Or they have a lot of companies, there's companies out there that do that. I have to fuss with that later. It'll pop off, I just need to give it some love. All right, here's the unveiling of inspecting the frame. Here we go, wish me luck. So what I'm doing with the rag, and I suggested this when you were looking at bikes in the field, is have a rag and clean off areas. And with the rag, sometimes it'll catch an area that's been damaged, especially on a carbon frame, because it splinters like a wet twig's being bent back and forth. It'll splinter out and the rag will catch it. But also you really want to do a visual inspection and making sure that frame is not damaged anywhere. And this will have scuffs on it, like this has some scuffs. And I did the tap test. I used my ring, but you know, in the shop, what you're looking for is a thud sound, like it goes ding 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 dong. And if it goes down in that compromised area, that's where the fiber is broken away, and you may not see it, but you can definitely see scarring. I mean, usually you'll see a scarring on it, or cracks or something. The cracks won't make a thud sound as they're too close to each other. And yeah, looking good so far. The unveiling of the underneath. Well, I got some corrosion going on over here underneath the cable guide to the brake. Means this has probably been in an area where there's more moisture, like a coastline, humidity, that kind of thing. So, what do I have there? Oh, just popped right off. I thought it was something weird, and it was something not too weird. So if you clean it and the paint looks good underneath, that's a good sign too, because a lot of roof or car racks will clamp on here, and also you get some damage. So sometimes, you know, once they're transported, you gotta understand all bikes are transported somehow. Some people just really get aggressive with their racks. All right, let me show you what that corrosion bit is. So I did see this when I picked this bike up too. So I noticed this had some, well, what happened is some moisture got underneath the clear coat, and the brake stop here was clear coated too, and a little bit of scarring. So I think I'll be able to polish it, or I'll be able to peel that back and polish it, so clean it up. And it's a good thing it's like it's underneath, you're not going to really see it too much. A lot of this other part where this redness and scratching, that'll clean up. I don't know if I'll get it perfect, but I'll get it pretty close. And at least that red stuff, that's actually, you know, falls down on a house and bumps up against the car, or like a bench that's painted red. Something's red that they ran into. That's, you know, garage wear. Bike crashes are usually, when you see on the outside, like the shifters will be scarred. And since this doesn't have the original Dura-Ace shifters, something must have been bad with those shifters that replaced. And probably what happened, if I would have had a guess, the shifters were older, which matches this, which would be late 2000s to 2000, or late 90s to early 2000s is when they had these out, this flying. And what probably happened is the Shimano grease that they pre-inject these with for shifting over time hardens, and it locks up those shifter jowls so they don't ratchet down when they're going around. And it'll make it seem like it's toast. And what it really is, and it's not toast, it's just gumped up. And you just shoot some degreaser in there, and you put it in a hot bath sonic cleaner, where with that combination of the heat and the sonic cleaning really breaks all that stuff up and rinse it out. I may have to do it a couple cycles, but it'll bring those shifters back to life. So I hope that person still has those shifters and decides to get them sonic cleaned, because they're probably fine. But in this case, looks like they upgraded to some nice 10-speed Dura-Ace shifters, which cost them a pretty penny, because these look pretty darn new. So Anywho, in the case, these are in such good shape, I don't think I'm gonna need to sonic clean them. I'll inspect them and clean them, but externally, I don't think I'll need to throw them in the sonic cleaner. Also, the sonic cleaner, you gotta be careful because of the coating. That doesn't have a coating. It's like some have like a certain kind of coating on them for the aesthetics, like this the Ultegra gray kind of thing. It's painted. And a sonic cleaner, if it's really a strong potency, a ratio of solvent versus water, I keep mine like really low, like 1:7 ratio. So simple green is 1 part to 7 part water, so it's more water, but it has enough solution in it to break up and degrease, and I don't have that problem, but the heating element itself will take some of that plastic and peel it right off, so you got to be careful. That's why I only do 5-minute increments when I do the sonic cleaning, so it's, you know, kind of like test that kind of thing. So all right, I think I'm saved with the frame. I will definitely be going over it 3 or 4, 5, 6 more times when I do the detailing. You've seen videos before where I really go over each part of the frame by cleaning it and polishing it and detailing it. So the frame will be double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked. The parts will be clean, and you know, parts will be replaced because they need to be replaced on this one. The wheels as well, as I wash them when I true them, and when you true them, I inspect all these areas, make sure there's no damage, and then hopefully it looks like, feels like it's pretty good and looks like a pretty good case. So this bike is going to be awesome. So on to the next phase. Thank you for spending some time with me. Until next time, from the garage.